Hi, my name is Adam. I have the Bally Alley website. This is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a review, an overlook, or here's what I want to talk about. Bally BASIC. The Bally Astrocade, or Bally Professional Arcade, came out in January of 1978. That was when you could first actually get them and bring it home. It didn't come with any kind of BASIC. One was released I think September of 1978. So if you bought it early, you had some games to play on cartridge and that was it. Eventually, this thing came out in 1981 when the Astrocade re-released the Bally Arcade. Before that, what you had was a Bally BASIC cartridge that required a 300 baud interface that plugged into port 3 because there's 4 joystick ports on the Bally, and also into the light pen port. And I think it got power from there. And also, I don't really know how that one works off the top of my head. But I don't want to talk about that early BASIC. I want to talk about the one that most people are familiar with, which is this. This is a shrink wrap version of BASIC. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Alrighty. I'm not very good at this. Rough, but hey, it is what it is. This is shrink wrapped. About in 2007, the box of these came up for sale. I bought 10 of them, I think for like 25 bucks or whatever. Actually, we'll take these when someone's looking for one, they can't find one easily. I just sell it to them for pretty cheaply. Recently I saw that there was 60 of them for sale for like $100 on eBay. This is one of the most common carts, if not the most common cart for the system, because when the Astrocade was re-released, it came with every single Astrocade, the hardware. And so I want to review it because it seems like a lot of people frown on BASIC. Most people don't know how to load games. Bally Alley has some like 500 or something games available. And not just games, 500 programs I should say, something like that, that were either released on tape, because games were released on tape. Games were released in the newsletters. There's more than two really, but two main ones, Cursor and the Arcadian. And the games were much simpler. They couldn't take advantage of the Astrocade in any way, really. But what they could do is they allowed people who bought the system, unlike the 2600 or the Intellivision or the Odyssey 2, they could program the system. I mean, obviously, if you bought a computer, you could program that too if you bought a BASIC cartridge, or sometimes they had BASIC built in. But this is a video game console. It's not the first, maybe it is the first one that had a BASIC for a console, but I mean, I guess the Famicom, you could buy BASIC. There are other BASICs that were available for consoles eventually. This is one that got used a lot. The other BASICs, as far as I'm aware, I'm not an expert on the subject, but they didn't have a large selection of software that was written, and also, as far as I'm aware, they didn't have newsletters that were devoted to them. Or not just, like the Arcadian newsletter wasn't devoted to BASIC, but every issue, usually starting after September or October of 1978, had at least one BASIC program in it. So, I'm not going to open this up. It's still shrink wrapped. I'm not going to bother. What I am going to do is I'm going to show you what's inside of it. So, you've got a keypad. This will go over the... I'll just show it up. This is what everyone else does on... I'm going to show you this plugged in, or in the console as well, but there's 24 keys on the Astrocade, and this fits over it and allows you to type on it. Also, I'll take out of my, we've got the Astrocade BASIC. This one is labeled Bally BASIC, and to tell you the truth, most people refer to it as Bally BASIC interchangeably. I try to refer to it as Astrocade BASIC in quotes because it allows me to differentiate the version of BASIC that didn't have this built-in port and the one that does. This allows you to load all 4K of the Astrocade in about 20 seconds, which is pretty good. A program could take, I think, up to 2 minutes to load using Bally BASIC. So you get these things, but the impressive part, and what is always very impressive to me, is you get this manual. All right, let me zoom out a little bit here. And this manual is how to use Bally BASIC. So, I don't know if you can tell, but it's pretty thick. It's 116 pages. And if you get a chance, if you have an Astrocade, or even if you don't, you can view this manual online at Bally Alley. It's pretty thorough. Bally BASIC has some severe limitations, but we're going to flip through this manual And maybe I will, maybe I won't make some, I'll show in other videos some of the programs that are in this manual. But the original Bally BASIC was written by Jay Fenton, and it was very similar to AstroBASIC. They added a couple of things to AstroBASIC, the version with this one, the one I'm talking about here. But for the most part, they're about the same. There's probably people out there yelling, "No, there's so many differences. There's this and that that's different," and there are differences, but they're mostly the same. I mean, nearly all Bally BASIC programs that were written for the original Bally BASIC will work under AstroBASIC. Sometimes you have to make slight changes because Bally BASIC sound works differently than AstroBASIC sound. And there was a couple of things that were taken out to make room for like tracing, and also in the original Bally BASIC you couldn't take a program, like if you type 10 print colon hello world and then typed another colon, but instead of saying hello world you type hello wood or something, well, you would have to retype the entire line in the original Bally BASIC. There's actually a way to not have to do that. You can just type the words. There's not a full screen editor, but you can pull up the original line and just fix it, which is an enormous help. So here's what you could do with Bally or AstroBASIC. I'm going to go through the contents. Oh, and the other people that worked on this manual is Dick Ainsworth, George Moses, which I think he wrote the chapter on the 3-voice music, and Brett Bilberg. Brett Bilberg actually wrote a couple games for the Astrocade that he released into the public domain. He wrote them with Spectrovision, and those two games are Treasure Cove and ICBM Attack, which is one of the games that uses a special controller. So the contents of this, the programming course, that's what this is. I think it might even be labeled as such. Yeah, it's like Bally BASIC, now with built-in audio interface, this, and an illustrated learning course. And it says here, there's no easier way to learn about computers than with the new Bally BASIC system. This plug-in cartridge with built-in audio tape interface converts your arcade to a personal computer that you can program yourself. The complete self-teaching instruction book will help you in learning while you create computer games, electronic music, and video art. And that's something to remember, is the video art part, and the music and the games, is that all of those things were created and published in the newsletters. And there's a couple of examples in the back of this book, which are pretty good. All right. So what do you get? You've got 9 lessons. You've got lesson 1 is using printing, counting, and loops. Lesson 2 is random numbers, inputs, and what if. Lesson 3 is subroutines. Lesson 4 is arrays. Lesson 5 is electronic music. And when I say music, unless you go, well, I'll get to that. Electronic music in Chapter 5 is only going to cover one note at a time. Chapter 6 is on graphics. Chapter 7 is on computer games. Most of the games written in Bally BASIC are pretty simple, and this doesn't actually explain how to use any of the machine language subroutines that are available in the 8K ROM that's built into the Astrocade. But even without using those, you can write some interesting programs, and some people did. And there's some included in here that are pretty neat. Let's see, Lesson 8 is video art. Oh, I skipped Lesson 7. That's computer games. No, I guess that was the last one I talked about. Lesson 8 is video art, and Lesson 9 is 3-voice music. And then starting on page 71, they have some programs you can type in. And then the appendix, which has a lot of good information in it. It's got the character code table, which is the ASCII table. Tells you about the 50-pin bus connector in the back of the Astrocade, which can be used for upgrades. And there were upgrades written, or not written, released for this. Like you could add RAM to the system, which is probably the best upgrade available for it. The Blue RAM Basic. In fact, Ken Lil and Mike White made something called Lil White RAM, which is an upgrade you can use on the Astrocade. Appendix D is input and output ports. Appendix E is Bally BASIC and the database locations. And F is Bally BASIC 300 baud to 2000 baud tape converter. And I'm actually going to flip to that page real quick. And the reason I'm going to do this is because if you can see this, well, you can see it's all outlined in pink. Because this is I actually typed that in. And what you would do is you type in this little program, and then you would type in this into the array. So I type in into array element 0, I type -20493. and you can eventually type in all of these elements. I think that might go on to the next page. Yeah, you type in 230 elements. So, and this is a machine language program, and it allows you to take programs that were written in the original 300 baud BASIC and convert them to run in 2000 baud BASIC. And it's very helpful, and I've used it many times to archive programs on Bally. So before I continue anymore, I want to say something to Jay Fenton. Jay Fenton used to be known as Jay Fenton, and he wrote this manual. And if you're listening, I just want to say thanks for writing this. This is a great program. I know that when Bally first introduced the system, it was going to have like Z-Grass, the language, and that never ended up getting an official release on the Astrocade. But Bally BASIC allowed many people to enjoy their computer for the first time, and so thanks. I mean, the Bally was not my first computer. My first computer was a Commodore 64, but I think I got attracted to the Bally because of BASIC, and I was like, there's a game console that has BASIC built in? What can you do with it? Well, what I plan to do is tell you a couple of things you can do with it. I've loaded programs and showed you a few things you can do with, like some games you can play already in some of my previous videos, which are MIDI. And you know, I used to think that you had to make these professional videos, or not professional, but like not cheesy, not terrible videos. And you know what? Hey, I'm never gonna make videos if I don't make them like this. And I'm certainly not the first to make videos like this. Hey, at least I've got a tripod. So I'm not going to like go into detail about these chapters much here, but I'm going to try to flip through the book. My videos are limited to 30 minutes, and I'm going to do this real time. I'll maybe edit this a little bit, but probably not so much. So first thing it teaches you is how to put the cartridge here. This is how you put the cartridge in. You put the keypad in, and then this is the first screen that you'll see. And when you turn the system back, and you'd see a screen that looked like that. And you know what? It's intimidating because you have to read all of this to understand how it works. But this manual is written very well. It's based on the original Bally BASIC manual that was released in 78, and that was written by Dick Ainsworth. And it wasn't quite as long as this. I don't think it has many example programs. There certainly wasn't a chapter on 3-voice music, because that didn't really start, I think, until 80 or 81. And George Moses and Bill Berry had a lot to do with that. And in fact, George Moses did some fantastic music using this system, entering note per note, one at a time. So if you're watching this, Brett and George, did a great job with that music, and thanks. It's pretty cool. In fact, I have a Bally Astrocast, and I usually try to end with music each time, and not every time, but most of the time I end with something that was written using a program in here called, I think it's called the 3-voice assembler. Let's check it out. You type it in and let you make it's actually, I think, part of one of these chapters here. So I am going to talk about chapters a little bit. Okay, so then it tells you, take this, which is this, and put it over your keypad. And after you do that, in order to type something, so let's say, so in this example, we have an A, B, and C. So in order to type that, if I wanted to type the letter C, first thing I do is I would type the blue, which would turn the screen blue. And I'm going to show this in a separate video, maybe just for a short portion. And then I would type this key here. So I would type this, I would just press this once, and I would get a C. If I wanted to type in A, I would press the green, and I would get an A. And if you don't type anything at all, you get, I just noticed for that letter, doesn't show you what like this does. So I'm going to put this over this, kind of. I don't know if that makes sense. But when you type in, if you type this without pressing one of these 3, which are called word buttons, you would press go. And go is the same thing as enter or return on other computers. You can pause a listing while it's being listed by pressing this. But for the most part, this is how you type in your keywords. So you'd have, say you wanted to type, like I was saying earlier, a simple print statement. And some people who have never used BASIC before will have no idea what I'm talking about. But the simplest program you can type is a print statement, and then we'll print some word on the screen. And in BASIC, at least in AstroBASIC, not in modern basics, but you would have to type a line number. So you type 1, 0, which nearly all programs start with 10, and you don't have to, but it's just sort of a way to do it, because like let's say you have a, I'm not going to go into that. So you type 1, 0, and then you'd want to use some other key. So you want to print, use the print key. So that's this one here. So in order to get that, you would press words, print, and you'd get print. And then you'd get the colon by typing the red in here. And what I'll do is I'll try to insert an example of me doing this at the end of this video. And eventually you'd have a line, you press go, and it'd be entered into the computer. You'd press run by typing words, run, and bam, you'd have whatever you typed in quotes, it would appear on your screen. It's not very exciting, but it is. It does work. And eventually, I'll show you an example of a program in here. Some of the, I mean, 1.8K RAM doesn't sound like much, and it isn't much. Let's be honest, it's not much at all. But this is one of the better programs in here. It's called Artillery Duel. This was originally published in the Arcadian. So if you can get an idea here, you have programs that are about like, it's pretty long. I think this one takes up nearly all of the RAM that's in the Astrocade. And there's actually 2 versions of this book. This program, Artillery Duel, actually has a couple of lines wrong in both versions. But anyway, so you type this in, all of that, and when you're done, you can play Artillery Duel. And I actually have a picture or a video of my friend Chris and I playing Artillery Duel. We played both versions of it, the one that came out on a cartridge. Yeah, that's an example of how popular this system, or this game was. This was released in the Arcadian newsletter, and it was so popular that Astrocade actually released it as a cartridge, much improved. But even this basic version of the game is pretty fun. So, all right. That might be all I cover for now. Maybe I'll cover a little bit of, yeah, I think that's what I'll cover. I mean, I'll flip through the book, see if I see anything interesting. I guess that's about it. That gives you an example. What I will do is I will take, let's see here, and show you an example of how I load programs. All right, so here's my phone. This is my old iPhone. I use it as an iPod. Let's say I just loaded up and did a review a little bit ago for the Mummies. This is, terrible, sounds terrible. That's probably really loud. So I think I'll probably cut that out. Let me turn that down here a lot. All right, so I've got a 1/8 mono cable, and I plug it into here. Of course, this will be plugged into the Astrocade. I'm actually going to show an example of doing that here in a minute. My Astrocade's desk is really crummy looking right now, but I will try to do that. So I plug this in. Normally, the other end of it gets plugged in. Back in the 80s, would have been plugged into a recorder that would have been like for tape, like a cassette recorder. In my case, I plug it into my phone, which is, like I said, I use as an iPod, and I would press play, and as you can see, maybe it's playing. This is about 20 seconds of audio. As it's doing this, it's loading on the computer screen. If this was plugged into an Astrocade, and that's all there is to loading a program. I'm actually going to maybe do a quick video one of these days on how to load a program into Astrocade, and it's easy. It'll allow you to start using the Astrocade and Astrocade BASIC. Man, this is a long cable. There's a cable, most people would use a shorter one, but I use a shielded cable, and it was made by Radio Shack, which may they rest in peace, I guess. I guess some of them are still around, but most of them have all closed. That's about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to tag on a short bit here at the end that will show BASIC starting up, and you can check out what it looks like. But again, this is the AstroBASIC, even though it says Bally BASIC. It's the one with the built-in port. Oh, and handily, if you've used the Astrocade before, you know that you can store up to, I think, 10 cartridges in the top. So if you store your cartridge in the Astrocade like this, you can see on this version, you can see it says AstroBASIC. And I didn't write that. I got this cartridge like that. So, all right, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for a couple of minutes of video on how to, oh man, this looks kind of terrible, but stay tuned for a couple of minutes of video, and that'll show you basic running. So, this is the Astrocade without a cartridge plugged in. My Astrocade doesn't normally look like this. I don't usually have the cover on it. I threw it back on real quick so you could check it out. The Astrocade I was saying earlier, you can store cartridges in the top. I've got 4 in here right now. I've got Cosmic Raiders. I've got the original Bally BASIC that does not have, in fact this is a good example. This one got water damage, but this has no cartridge or no input right there for, I think we can put them right together. This is the comparison between the two. So anyway, we're not going to be using that Bally BASIC today, but there's space for cartridges in the back of the system. So in order to use Bally BASIC, what do? You plug it in like any other cartridge. That is it. It's plugged in. Now if you see here, this is the 24 key keypad. Let's put the dust cover back on just so we can check it out. Beautiful little dust cover. I like this one. This is my favorite one. There's I think there's 4 different dust covers that came out. All of them look a little different. This is my favorite. I think it's I don't know if it's the original one, but it's, I don't know, it looks so 70s to me. Besides the fact that there's wood grain, that's a little bit 70s too. So now I take my keypad and I put it over the cover, or over the keypad, and now we're ready to set up and use Bally BASIC, or AstroBASIC. So what else we got to do in order to use this? If we were going to load a program, I would take, dang it, plug my phone and my 1/8 inch cable into the phone jack, and like I showed earlier, I have my phone here. So now I'm going to show you how a program is loaded. Check it out. So as we can see here, I've got a close-up on the Bally BASIC's 24 key keypad. I'm going to use, I'm not going to be able to show you the screen and how I type at the same time. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to type in a program, a very, very simple program. It's just going to allow me to print Bally Alley. It's going to clear the screen, and that's it. That's all it's going to do. How I type the program, in order to, I'm going to have it, so the program's going to be simple. It's going to be 10, print, open quotes, Bally Alley, close quotes, and then I'm going to go to the next line. We'll type in 20. Oh, excuse me, I'm not even going to do that. I was going to say go to 10. I'm so used to a short program being something like that. So I'll type in 5, clear, then 10, and then I'll print Bally Alley. Then when I run the program, it will, you'll see it on the screen. But first, since the system's not even on, I'm going to just show you how the keypad works. As I was saying earlier, this is the green word, or to type any green letter. So if I typed in, if I press that, which I just did, and type this one, I would get a money sign. If I typed in, or dollar sign, if I typed red and press the same one, I'd get a comma. If I typed in blue and press this one, I'd get a question mark. So here's how I will be typing in my program. So I would type in, I want a number, so I type in 1, 0, and it automatically will put a space when I type in words key, print, and it types all of print out as one word. It doesn't, you don't have to type in P-R-I-N-T. So then I would type in red, quotes, and I'm going to type in Bally. In this case, I'll just type in B-A-L-L-Y, and then I'll type, that's a space key. You don't get a long bar. Alley, A-L-L-E-Y, colon. I type go, and that would be as if I was typing enter. And I think I said I was going to actually have it say 10 clear. So in fact, since I screwed up, I'll put a 5, and then I'll say clear, and clear, go. And now that would be my entire program. If I want to run it, I would type in colon, run, and then the thing that's going to appear on the screen is going to first clear the screen, and then next it's going to print Bally Alley, and that's it. That's what I'm going to show you how to do. And I'm going to do that right now. Check it out. One last thing I want to show you before I actually turn on the Astrocade and get it going is that I don't, like I was saying earlier, I don't ever use my Astrocade with the cover on. It's actually not screwed together right now. So what I do when I use my Astrocade, because these things are prone to getting very hot, the custom chips, is I take the cover off and I use my Bally system naked. That is the way it looks inside if you're ever curious and know what the Bally looks like. Hidden right behind here is the data chip, and it overheats. It makes it a little harder to overheat, especially since I keep my house pretty cool. If I'm actually doing any heavy programming or anything like that, heavy programming, is that a word or a phrase? Sometimes, I haven't done this in a long time, but I used to have a fan that would blow air across this, and I don't have problems with my system. Some people will take and on some of these chips, they will put something to keep them a little cooler, but like a heatsink. But I've never bothered doing that. I wanted to give you a quick tour. This is the RF modulator. I've seen not on many of my systems, but a couple of people have had these go bad, and they think their Astrocade is dead. But it's just this, and these are you can purchase these for like $5. I guess it was a common part, and $5 to $10, something like that, on the internet right now. And this is 2017, so it's 40 years old. Wow, the Astrocade's it's up there. It's still a fun system to use though. And back here you've got the 4 controller ports, and this is port 1, port 2, for some reason. Port 1, port 2, port 3. No, port 1, port 2, port 4, port 3. I don't know why that is. This is the light pin port. It's also the port where you plug in a 300 baud interface. That's about all there is to know. Oh, and this is the 50 pin connection, so that you can plug in like a RAM expansion or Viper, or which is kind of a RAM expansion. And this is where the Z-Grass keyboard would have plugged in, which never came out. But I'm not trying to give you a tour of the Astrocade. What I'm trying to do is show you how to load a BASIC program. So let's get to that. This is what the Bally looks like without anything on the screen. I've got the Bally cartridge inserted. Turn it on, and this is what you see. The first thing I want to do is type in that program I was just talking about a minute ago. And so I type in 10, print. I don't have to put a space, it doesn't care. Colon, I'm going to type in Bally Alley, B. So in order to do this, remember I have to type in 2 letters, or 2 keys, in order to get a specific letter. So in order to get an L, I have to type in blue, then the L. So Bally, then Alley, and we're almost there. It's probably not too exciting for people who aren't into programming, but if you're looking at a basic video about BASIC, you probably are into programming in some way. Type in 5, clear, so words key, and you notice how it prints the entire thing at once. So if I run this right now, this is what it's going to do. And that's not too exciting. So let's list the program. That's what our program looks like. Let's change line 10. So 10. And now what I need to do is I hold the pause key, and it continues. Every single time I press the pause key, it brings up what the next thing is. Instead, here, I'm going to type a comma, except I didn't. So now I press go. Now if I run the program, it's going to do the same exact thing. You can't tell. Whoops. What did I do? I thought they had a 5 clear. Oh yeah, so it didn't go to the next line. So that's exactly what this here says don't go to the next line. So it did what I was expecting it to do, except I didn't add the other program. So now if I type in another program, which is go to, let's see, 10, and now if I type it, it's going to fill the screen with Bally Alley over and over and over. So you can't really read that though, can you? So let's halt the program by pressing the halt key. Let's list the program once. Let's clear the screen. Whoops. Let's clear the screen and list the program. And we're going to add a space after Bally Alley this time. This way it's a little more legible at least. So if we type this, now let's put a space, and then we'll continue with our line. And now if we type run, you know, it's still not perfect. I mean, this is just an example of how to type in a line. So that is that. So I'm going to type reset. The program is no longer in memory. We can check that out. The program is gone. I'm going to load an example that is on page 88. It's the AstroBASIC manual. It's called Chicago Loop. It was written by Mike Peace. He wrote all of the Wavemaker's programs. I'm gonna load this from my iPhone, which I use as an iPod, and I'm not going to show you me doing it. If you actually are going to download any programs from Bally Alley, they're in WAV format. Don't convert them to MP3s or some other kind of lossy format because they won't load properly. So we're going to try loading this WaveMakers program, and we're not going to just try, we are going to load it. So I've got to find it on my phone. I have quite a few programs in here. Astrocade programs. You can't see what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing. Or do I? WaveMakers programs. Chicago Loop. And it's starting to load it, but I haven't even told it to load yet, so... Alright. I've got it basically... Oh, this is character analysis. This is not the program I want. I want Chicago Loop. Alright. So, I'm going to just type :input. This tells it's just going to start listening to the port that's built into the Astrocade to see if you're loading a program. And I type go. And now it looks like it's crashed or something. If you try loading a program and it doesn't start filling the screen with data, then something's wrong. But in our case, it is going to fill the screen with data. So now I'm going to press play on the phone. It's going to take about 18 seconds to load the program. There's Chicago Loop. And normally I load a program by :input and then semicolon and run, which allows it to run right away. But I did this purposely didn't do that. So that, alright, so the program is loaded. I'm actually going to clear the screen and list the program. So you can see it's like 12 lines long. It's pretty short. Alright, there's your program. So I'm going to run the program now, and you can see a program in action. So we've loaded a program into the 2000 baud interface, and now we're going to run a program for the first time. This program is supposed to, it's I guess video art, and it looks like pretty neat if you ask me. In a second you'll get to see the entire thing. It's supposed to look like an outline. And I forgot it had music, well, not music, but tones. So I want to point out a couple things. I think this is supposed to be water, and this is traffic. So this is like a highway, and this is the skyline of Chicago, and these are the cars moving, and you hear the traffic, and this is the reflection in the water. It's a pretty simple program. As you saw, it was only a few lines long. And it's just supposed to show you a couple things you can do. It's using, I think, the box command. It's using some of the commands that let you make sound effects. It's typical of BASIC. I'm going to halt the program. And when I halted it, I didn't... I don't know if you can hear it because it's very low, but it's very, very kind of annoying. I'm going to clear the screen, but it doesn't make the sound go away. So I'm going to turn off the sound. In order to do that, type NT, typing in the dark here so there's no reflection on the screen, and the sound is off. Well, if you've had any... Let's try loading one more program just for the heck of it. We'll load a program that I'll actually play. Let's see. All my WaveMakers programs are here. Let's try loading up 4 famous freebies. These were all programs that were originally in... this is Breakout. It's not a very exciting program. In fact, it's pretty slow. But I'm going to reset the system. I'm going to do : input. This time I'm going to actually have the program run automatically. And I'm going to press play. This program is called Brick on the Wall. It's a pretty slow version of Breakout. But now you can see that the title screen is loading. And you've got... this was originally printed in either the Arcadian or the Cursor newsletter. I'm not sure which one it was printed in originally. And, alright, and let me get over there. Oh, shoot. I have to pick up the screen. So it's very choppy. Alright, this program doesn't use any... It's also very short. I think it's just a few lines long. So it's amazing that it works at all. But the program... and yeah, this is it. We actually played this in a high score club, and we decided that there's not much to this one. But it's a good example of what you can do in a few lines of code. I don't know if I can break out of this program or not. I can. Let me do a clear. Let me do a list. As you can see, the colors are changed because that's what it was. And here's the program. It's, you know, it might look long if you think you have to type this in, but I mean, like you know, you often hear like a cartridge is 4K or 2K on the Astrocade, or sometimes they're 8K. That's hardly anything. That's smaller than a picture. That's, you know, only a few tweets or something like that. But in reality, a cartridge can store much more data than what you can store even in BASIC, and that's all written in machine code. But that's it. That right there is a complete program brick in the wall. I'm not going to try to explain how it works or anything, but that's how to load and use AstroBASIC. I'm going to try to get together some other videos that maybe not walkthroughs. I'm not going to go through the entire manual, but I think one of my favorite cartridges for the Astrocade is AstroBASIC, and it's not just because it's basic. I mean, I'm going to press reset here. It's not, but it's because of the power, and it's power in quotes here because I'm doing air quotes. You can't see me, but there's something I think special about the ability to be able to take control of your console. And while computers are meant to do that, most people don't think of the Astrocade as a computer. So I'm going to sign off with a short program real quick. And you've probably noticed that sometimes when I press one key, there's not supposed to repeat, but on this Astrocade in particular, they do. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to say, what can I say? I'll say, well, I could sign off and say bye for now, but I'd have to type this out on the Astrocade and it's not worth it. So I'll just say bye, and I'll just type it like that. It was kind of fun to put this together. Who knows how it'll edit. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned a little bit something about the Astrocade and using AstroBASIC. Hopefully now you can load your own programs, because there's a ton of them on BallyAlley.com, and it took a lot of work to get those up there, not just by myself. In fact, mostly other people have archived many of these programs. I just have space for them, or I don't even have the space for them. There's someone else who has the space. I just put the website together. Thanks for watching, and look for some new videos in this quote series in the future.